Something unusual is unfolding behind palace walls, and according to multiple reports, it's happening faster than anyone expected. In the past 2 weeks alone, insiders claim Prince William quietly stepped into a level of control rarely seen without a formal transition, and almost immediately, the consequences began rippling outward. Titles, loyalty, silence, and a truth that may have been buried for years are suddenly colliding. What's drawing the most attention isn't just what William allegedly did, but why he felt forced to act now. Because if these reports are accurate, a hidden discovery may have left him with no other choice. According to royal watchers, Prince William's recent behavior signals something far beyond routine duty. As King Charles' health has reportedly declined, insiders claim William began overseeing sensitive decisions usually deferred for months or even years. There were no public announcements, no dramatic handovers, just a noticeable tightening of control. Meetings accelerated, advisors were reassigned, and discussions that had long been considered off-limits were suddenly back on the table. Observers say this wasn't about symbolism. It was about containment, suggesting William believed a window was closing and that delaying action could cause permanent damage. For years, speculation has swirled around whether Prince Harry and Meghan's titles could realistically be removed, with many assuming it would never happen. But insiders now claim that assumption was wrong. Reports suggest William revisited old legal mechanisms, including provisions often cited online but rarely activated, to determine whether revocation was possible without parliamentary chaos. What changed, according to sources, wasn't public pressure. It was private information. Something allegedly shifted the issue from controversial to unavoidable, forcing William to treat the matter as a constitutional risk rather than a family dispute. At the center of these claims is a deeply sensitive allegation that Queen Elizabeth left behind private journals intended only for senior heirs. These writings, described by insiders as reflective rather than procedural, reportedly contained observations about conversations that troubled her deeply. One entry, in particular, has been labeled unforgivable by those who claim to have knowledge of it. Rather than rage or judgment, the tone is said to be restrained, almost weary, raising doubts about a story Meghan allegedly shared early in her royal life, not accusing, but quietly questioning whether everything added up. According to long-circulating staff rumors, the Queen was never quick to confront, but she noticed patterns others missed. Insiders claim there were moments when timelines didn't align, reactions felt rehearsed, or details shifted subtly depending on the audience. None of this was acted on publicly. Instead, the Queen allegedly chose to observe, allowing events to unfold naturally rather than force a confrontation that could fracture the family. Those familiar with her approach say she believed truth had a way of surfacing on its own, even if it took years. One of the most persistent insider claims involves a junior palace staffer known for her attention to detail. According to reports, she witnessed behavior that contradicted a deeply emotional story Meghan had shared privately. Documents allegedly appeared where they shouldn't have. Reactions reportedly shifted too quickly. And when the staffer quietly documented what she saw, she was not dismissed. She was relocated. Royal watchers interpret that not as disbelief, but as protection, suggesting the palace chose to shield the institution until absolute certainty could be reached. Just as these older rumors resurfaced, Meghan's former husband was suddenly back in headlines, fueling speculation. Reports claim he was discreetly advised to leave the UK, though no official reason was given. Online theories exploded, questioning whether he possessed sensitive knowledge or had once been part of an arrangement that never came to light. While nothing has been proven, the timing raised eyebrows, especially as insiders suggest William's team had begun re-examining every loose thread connected to the early Sussex timeline. Then came the moment that reportedly changed everything for Harry. According to sources, an unmarked package arrived in Montecito containing materials that raised deeply unsettling questions. The contents have never been verified publicly, but those familiar with the situation claim they included images, documents, and a recording meant for Harry alone. Whatever he saw or heard reportedly shattered his sense of certainty, because within hours, he made a decision that stunned even those closest to him. Instead of returning home, reports say Harry stayed near Heathrow after his sudden flight to Britain, keeping out of sight. Insiders describe him as isolated, shaken, and increasingly aware that this trip wasn't about reconciliation, it was about reckoning. The timing was especially brutal, landing just days before a major royal memorial. Observers say the message was clear. Whatever was about to happen would move forward with or without his participation. When Harry and William finally met, insiders say there were no pleasantries, no soft language, and no room for denial. William allegedly presented what he believed to be undeniable proof, framing the issue not as betrayal, but as responsibility. Harry, by contrast, reportedly viewed it as persecution, the culmination of years of feeling rejected. The conversation, according to leaks, wasn't about love or forgiveness. It was about truth, and whether protecting a narrative had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. Sources claim William made it clear that sentiment no longer had a seat at the table. Whatever affection remained, it could not outweigh what he believed was a threat to the monarchy's integrity. This wasn't framed as revenge, but as correction, a belief that allowing an alleged fabrication to stand unchallenged would damage not just the institution, but future generations tied to it. From that moment, insiders say the outcome was no longer negotiable. Behind the scenes, the formal mechanism reportedly moved quickly. Council members were briefed, precedents were reviewed, and when the vote allegedly occurred, the atmosphere was described as somber rather than triumphant. There were no cheers, no satisfaction, only the acknowledgement that something irreversible was being done. If these reports are accurate, the titles weren't stripped in anger, but buried in silence, treated as a necessary ending rather than a punishment. Afterward, Harry reportedly withdrew completely, avoiding familiar places and public appearances. Without titles, without institutional protection, and without certainty about his marriage, he was left confronting a reality he had long avoided. Observers describe him watching planes lift into the sky from a quiet hotel room, aware that no destination offered answers anymore. For the first time, he wasn't a prince, a rebel, or a symbol, just a man forced to sit with the consequences of belief. If these reports hold any truth at all, this story isn't really about titles or power. It's about the cost of choosing comfort over clarity. Harry may have believed loyalty meant silence, but silence has a way of collapsing when truth resurfaces. And as the monarchy moves forward without him, one question lingers long after the headlines fade. Was this tragedy unavoidable, or was it built one ignored warning at a time?